Welcome one and all to the next big project for my Let's Play channel here at Meister Gaming. I was quite hesitant on doing this at first, but I was like, okay, let's see if I can actually finish Metroid Prime before tackling this project. And with Metroid Prime fixing to be wrapped up, I figured I'd go ahead and jump into my next major project with Fire Emblem Path of Radiance for the Nintendo GameCube. Fire Emblem is my second favorite video game franchise, just right behind Metroid. There's something about Fire Emblem that offers a level of complexity and replay value that I don't really see in most other RPGs, let alone tactical RPGs for that matter. I'm not really super big into the tactical RPG genre, but Fire Emblem happens to be one of the sole exceptions to the rule, simply because of how this kind of game incentivizes really cautious play over its other contemporaries. So, uh, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, I was quite hesitant on the idea of doing another RPG for the channel at first, considering how poorly Secret of Mana, fell over. But then I realized, oh, wait a second, Fire Emblem is kind of an almost real-time strategy game, and you have all of these different things going on throughout the course of battle, meaning I don't have to worry about like repetitive like turn-based combat, filling in the void and potentially having me running out of things to say. And considering that this game has a lot of characters and units to go for and pick up, well, this game certainly has a lot going for it in terms of what I can work with into making this a watchable Let's Play, I'd imagine. So, yeah, Path of Radiance, I haven't played every Fire Emblem game. I haven't really finished or really touched the Japanese exclusive games for that matter, outside of, dabbling with Binding Blade a little bit, and I haven't really finished Radiant Dawn. But for the most part, I can say without, too much complication that I have a fair bit of experience in Fire Emblem, despite only having been like exposed to the series back in 2013 with Awakening. And Fire Emblem didn't really super appeal to me at first. Like Awakening was pretty cool and all, but like I had a friend go out and tell me that the 3DS games actually secretly suck. You need to go and play the older ones. So I went and played the GBA games, and that was more or less how I became a Fire Emblem fan. And once I ran into Path of Radiance, that game changed my life forever, for certain. Um, so this game was kind of funny in terms of how I actually ended up getting it. So this game is hell expensive, and on top of that, this game has yet to see a re-release. So, how on earth did I come across a game that normally runs for 120 bucks on the retro game market? Well, simple, really. I had a friend. This is a separate friend, but this friend happened to own these games. He didn't like the 3DS games either, and he was trying to move out and everything, and he was trying to get rid of his things, and he mistakenly sold this game to me for only 25 bucks. And if I had to list off the top of my head the biggest steals I've ever, come across in my livelihood, this game would be up there for sure. So anywho, we're going to be playing on difficult mode. This game does not have a lunatic mode. That is something that is exclusive to the Japanese version. But based off the stories that I've seen and, me watching Main's Let's Play and all, because I'm a huge Mangs fan, um, it looks like artificial difficulty at its finest. So you know what? I'm pretty perfectly fine with taking this route here. And so this here should be a no-brainer, but if you're not a Fire Emblem fan and you're not well versed in how statistics and level ups work, some people might accidentally go for the fixed level up method. I don't recommend that at all. So we're gonna be going with random because that's more or less how it works in every other Fire Emblem game. And for some reason, I don't think any other Fire Emblem game, quite uh, went with that way of leveling up in games after this one, so to speak. So I guess that was kind of a failed experiment on their part.
Well, Ike, you had enough?
Oh yeah, and to the best of my knowledge, this is one of the earliest Nintendo games I can think of that actually has voice acting. Like, the only games that really come to mind off the top of my head around this time period were Star Fox 64 and Super Mario Sunshine. And holy shit,
Oh, missed.
it really shows. Because this guy can't make any convincing grunts to save his life. But no, this is actually the same dude that voiced Ike in Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Smash 4. So it's kind of interesting to see how he had his humble beginnings, even in like the actual game he's from, and how he kind of evolved as a voice actor from this experience, so to speak. This game doesn't have many cutscenes though, so we're not going to be seeing a whole lot of voice acting. But when it's there, it's definitely going to stick in your mind, if not for the wrong reasons. I wouldn't say it's like one of those so bad it's good kind of like dubs, but it's like you hear it and it's like, oh wow, this is going to be one of those games, isn't it?
Listen, that song.
Ah, you're up. About
About time. That's exactly what I mean. So, the perspective I'm going to be taking with this playthrough is I'm going to be assuming that most people, um, who are watching this has at least played a Fire Emblem game before, so I'm not going to be going into specifics as far as like how the actual combat works because it's basically the same across all of the games. Like the combat never really changes, and for the better, I'd say. I think the tactical RPG approach is definitely something that ends up benefiting it in the long run. In fact, now that I think about it, it's usually RPGs that are in the highest demand these days, and that's typically because they have stories and combat that age better than like their contemporaries. That's why you don't see people going after platformers and shit anymore, unless it's like on the GameCube or whatever. So I'm not going to be really um, voice acting the dialogue here. I'll just be giving my acknowledgments as the game progresses, I suppose. You have no right to be so rough on Ike. See, he's a good dad. He knows what he's doing. Kind of reminds me of my dad, actually. My dad's such a fucking hardhead, and he's never been afraid of trying to throw hard things my way. Like, he was trying to get me to shoot a shotgun at the age of 7. So, just as an example, so. Oh, man. I can't say the soundtrack is amazing, but when it has its high points, it really shows. Ike's pretty relentless, that's for certain. He's kind of quiet and keeps to himself a lot, but he's got a strong will. Here's our man, Boyd. Boyd! Nothing special. You said you were going to get the boss, but you never came back. I got picked to check up on you. Not that I'm not going to be reading dialogue, period. I'll just read it whenever I feel like. Oh boy. You say that, but like, have you ever actually fought Grail before? Come on, man. You can't be throwing passive-aggressive comments like that without backing it up. Man, you did not need to say that. Oh. Oh no, Boyd. You better run while you can. If he sparred with someone closer to his own skill, well, that's kind of downplaying him a little bit, so to speak. Either that or he has a lot of confidence in Ike. Alright. So, this here is a tutorial chapter, and because we're playing on hard mode, it's not gonna go quite into the specifics of how the combat works, because again, I'm going to be treating this playthrough like, you know, the people watching this have played a Fire Emblem game before. So instead, I'm going to actually be talking about the units in a way Mangs does for his playthroughs, because I'm just really shameless and where I get my inspiration from. So Ike here is our main character, and he's the first character in the series that isn't a lord. At least not yet, anyway. He starts off as a ranger, and his spaces are kinda shaky. That 5 strength isn't particularly amazing, but having a speed of 7 actually isn't too bad. Ike's strengths are more so going to be coming from his really good growth rates, and the fact that his promotion is going to end up being pretty bonkers. So he has pretty balanced growth rates all around. He has 50% in strength, 75% in HP, 50% in skill, 55% in speed. Pretty above average growth rates, if not pretty damn good if I do say so myself, with a 40% in defense, which is to be expected, and a 40% growth in resistance, which is really, really, really good for his archetype. But then again, even lords like Roy have had a tendency to have absurdly good growth rates and resistance for whatever reason, so even if your Ike doesn't pan out too greatly, he's going to end up being a mage killer nonetheless. So, because of his basis, that's going to be the main problem here. Ike starts off okay, and then once he hits the mid-game, I want to say around chapters 12 to 13, he can definitely get growth rate screwed, if you know what I mean. And he can definitely run into some issues by that point in the game, and can falter a little bit. But once he gets his promotion past chapter 17, Ike becomes a one-man god. He gets this skill called Ether, which annihilates the hell out of anything standing in its path, and he gets some pretty balanced promotion gains out of it too. Not super duper amazing, but they're pretty well rounded nonetheless. So even if you end up struggling and leveling up your Ike over the course of the game, getting the promotion by chapter 17 is going to do more to make up for it, I promise you. So I'm going to go ahead and go on the offensive here, and actually, before I do any of that, I kind of want to speed the game up a little bit. I'm gonna be doing that. Message speed to max, game speed to fast. I'm gonna be leaving the combat animations on for a little while, up until we hit the point where I stop running out of things to talk about, and I need to get a move on, I guess. Bonus experience display. Why not? Why not? So, it's going to be that. Let me make sure all of that came into play. Awesome. So, let's go ahead and get things started here. Holy crap, that was a lot faster than I thought it'd be. So, Boyd here has just enough HP for us to take him down within one turn. Nothing. I don't have... I mean, okay, stop it. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself, my guy. And because this is difficult mode, needless to say, the enemies are going to be a little bit more tankier and aggressive than usual. So, we'll actually have to kind of watch out a little bit, even in the prologue chapter, because the game at this point assumes that you have played through Path of Radiance already. And I've been meaning to get back to this game at some point anyway, because I kind of regret having my first playthrough of this game done in normal mode. It makes the game far too easy. Take my word of advice for it. So, yeah, difficult mode, in my honest opinion, if you haven't, started with this game, is the way to go for Path of Radiance. I would say this would be a perfect starting game, but man, trying to get this game these days is easier said than done. Damn it, Nintendo. When are we getting our Nintendo GameCube re-releases? Shit. So here, Mist here is going to be giving us some vulneraries. We're going to absolutely need that when we combat Grill here. And apart from the enemies playing more aggressively, they can also play pretty smart too. So Grill here, I don't actually think approaches until you engage with them. So we're going to go ahead and pop in a vulnerary here and tail off our HP a little bit. So something that I think is a little bit too generous of Path of Radiance in this game's case is that most characters in other Fire Emblem games usually only have 5 spaces to carry their arsenal with. But with Path of Radiance's case, you actually have like a separate little box below your weapons for items and shit. So not only can you have up to 5 weapons, you can have up to 5 replenishable items as well. Meaning that managing your inventory in this game compared to other Fire Emblem games, way less stressful than useful. And that isn't to say this game doesn't have a convoy, because it most certainly does. We're going to be taking advantage of that. And I wanted to go ahead and have him attack us on the enemy turn. Because if you stand there and do nothing long enough, he's going to actually come after you. And definitely wanted to pop in that vulnerary before doing so. So we're probably not going to be challenging him on our player phases. Instead, we're just going to go ahead and pop in another vulnerary and let the fight play out itself, I guess. Oh boy. Doesn't do as much damage as I thought he would. Huh. Okay. So, yeah. Pretty below average in most cases, I'd say. What the heck? Grill? Why do you only have 2 defense? What the heck is this? So, since we have a 100% chance of hitting anyway, we might as well end it on this turn, I guess. We can afford to play a little recklessly, I suppose. I just now realized that Grill's outfit is actually based off of one of Ike's alts in Brawl. Why did I just now realize that? The yellow cape and everything. You know what? Skill and strength? I'll take that. That's not a bad first level up. Oh man, all I did was pop in a few vulneraries and took him to town. Oh, well, that explains the low defense bases, I guess. Well, if you can tell the difference, that means you're improving. Well, that's pretty awesome. Thanks for complimenting my foresight, I guess. You know, I wasn't... Of course. Man, Boyd says a lot of stupid shit in this game, and it can definitely, like, apply to the localization. For sure, because, this game has some pretty good writing, for the most part, I'd say. I actually really like the politics and world building that are involved with Path of Radiance, but man, the dialogue can often be hit or miss sometimes, and a lot of the shit that comes out of Boyd's mouth makes me want to pop him in the face. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, everybody's just being so passive-aggressive against Boyd. Oh man, that's how you know you fucked up, man. When you have the fucking trainee throwing in insults your way. Well, of course, I'm the main character. My name isn't Roy, so therefore I'm privileged. So, with that being said, I think that's going to be the end of part 1 of our playthrough. See you guys in part 2, where we tackle chapter 1. So, see you guys then.